And we're back on This is Africa on Capital Radio with Shabnam Peleya Mohammed. And we're moving on now to the fourth segment of our show, which is called Agents of Change. And on this segment, we've got Brett Wegener and Nico Jacobs. So is it Jacobs? You'll tell me if I've got the pronunciation correct. And I'm very happy to have them both on the show today. Nico is with Rhino 9/11 and Brett is with Sundust Films. Let's start with Nico. Nico, you can unmute your mic. Tell us about the work that Rhino 9/11 does and why we're actually beyond the crisis point when it comes to the rhinos in our country and our continent.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the privilege to be on your show. Yes, Rhino 911 was registered 4 years back as an NPO, but I've been flying in the parks for the past 15 odd years and reserves and trying to make a change in rhino conservation. So we basically give air support to the guys on the ground. May it be an incursion or a wounded rhino or a rhino that's been shot or a calf that needs to be airlifted. Then that's basically when they call us out to come and assist them.
All right, so that's basically what Rhino 9/11 does. Why are we beyond crisis point, Nico, when it comes to the rhinos in our country and our continent? What's going on? How many do we have left of these magnificent animals?
Well, that's a very good question. I think everybody would like to know. I think Kruger is sitting with a huge problem in South Africa. KwaZulu-Natal is being hard hit. We are being hard hit in the northwestern province, which takes us to extreme measures of trying to protect these animals. True numbers, I wouldn't be able to tell you. What we know in private owned rhinos, those figures are very exact. And I personally believe that we're sitting with less than 15,000 rhinos left in South Africa, white rhinos, and less than 3,000 black rhinos. It's my opinion, but yes, that's why it's so important and urgent that we need to give attention to these animals. I mean, losing 600, 700 rhinos still, on today is an unacceptable figure.
Absolutely scary. And one would hope there's enough education there where people know that we shouldn't be killing these animals. There's a lot of poaching going on and a lot of illegal activities that, the authorities and NGOs like yourselves are trying to work against. But sometimes it feels like a losing battle. Why I'm really so happy to have you both on the show as change, striving to make that difference for our animals. Brett, let's turn the mic to you. Why did Sundust Films, right? That's your company, Sundust Films. Did you want to get involved with Rhino 9/11 and what would you be doing with Rhino 9/11?
Hi, so thanks for having me. So I kind of saw the topic on carte blanche, and I've done some conservation and wildlife filming back in the day, and it just kind of, I think it sparked something. Something that I used to know almost. And I kind of just wanted to, put everything aside and just be like, this is very, very important. And I feel like, the topic of poaching, whether it's rhinos or palamun or pangolins, I feel like it's subsided a little bit. And I feel like it needs to be brought back into the conversations, This is our wildlife. This is our conservation. They are crucial for balance within nature. They're crucial for the ecosystem. They're crucial for us. As kind of beautiful creatures that have a lot of emotion and do have emotional intelligence. And I just kind of want to sort of create something to the sense of it's gotten to this point where we have to dehorn our rhinos so that they aren't poached. I think, I feel like as humanity and stuff like that, we really got to kind of look at what we're doing, and we've really got to kind of, change our ways. And I feel like, I'm just trying to do my bit with the power of film. I feel like film is an incredibly powerful tool to educate and to spread a message. And this is a message that really, really needs to be brought back to light.
Absolutely agree with you. We've got a comment from Mushtaq Sheikh, and he says we need to adopt a ruthless approach to poaching. Laws need to be revised and asset forfeiture needs to be made mandatory. I would certainly agree with that from a criminal law perspective and the criminal justice system. And the education, of course, equally important, which is what this project and this campaign that you're doing together is actually achieving. Nico, let's turn the mic back to you. How can the public support Rhino 9/11? What are the different ways in which the public can support Rhino 9/11 to achieve its objectives and its vision?
Well, thank you. I would just like to add with your caller that or your person that sent in the message. You know, we would really wish for harder sentences, much more fast, you know, prosecutions taking place, and people being very more strict about everything. I think if the government is really concerned about the numbers that we are losing, something drastically needs to change. We can't carry on. You know, I know at this stage the government has got much more to concentrate on than just you know, rhino poachings, but we've been busy with this for you know, since 2008, and it really much more can be done from the government side. We as NPO are actually doing the government's work. To your point, people can, you know, join us on Facebook. They can help us create awareness. To me, you know, creating awareness is more valuable than people just giving money. Obviously, you know, funding is very, very important and very difficult to get, and it is critical for us to stay in the air. You know, as an NPO, we've all the people that are involved with Rhino 911 do not get paid for any of their assistance or activities. You know, so we really need funding. We need to create awareness. We need to people out there to realize if they still want to see these animals, these prehistoric animals for their generation, children to come, we need to join hands and collaborate in our efforts in saving these animals.
Absolutely agree with you. A very powerful message there from Nico Jacobs, who is heading the NPO called Rhino 9/11. Brett, the documentary, what's the vision with the documentary and how can people support? I know you're doing a crowdfunding campaign. So tell us about the documentary first and then tell us about the crowdfunding campaign.
Well, yeah, so basically we just kind of, well, you know, from Sundust Films, we just like kind of want to create a cinematic visual, obviously with a very, very powerful story. And I mean, we've all heard, you know, from Nico's side as well, that this is a story that needs to be told. From the aim and the objective from this documentary is to create more awareness of this, obviously, but it's also to create, you know, foundations where more of this can happen. You know, we can do more documentaries. We can sort of go out there and we can touch on subjects and on, you know, subjects that kind of need to be brought back to the surface, like I said. It's more, you know, hopefully this starts the ball rolling on where we could just, you know, not just Sundust Films, but many other companies can get, you know, sort of into this and really, really, really kind of just, you know, bring it to the power, you know, because I think we just all need to do our bit. And I feel like, you know, it's subsided too much and we really need to bring it back. We really, really, really need to bring it back. So, yeah, that's basically
this passion that you have, Brett, really shines through for a filmmaker to be focusing on wildlife and conservation is brilliant. I know that there are some wildlife-related initiatives and projects and movie festivals that will probably be very interested in screening this documentary. Do you know about any of these festivals or these initiatives that you can maybe reach out to or partner with and screen the documentary?
Yeah, so I know that there is quite a few in the States. The Jackson Film Festival is quite a big one. Yeah, it's definitely on the cards, and I think that's definitely the purpose with this documentary as well. Is I wanted to be kind of everyone has the right to use it. Obviously not for sale. It's free for everyone that, you know, can used for education basis for kind of, if you're trying to pitch, if you're trying to do anything that's sort of like, projected towards rhino conservation or wildlife conservation in that sense. And from it would be nice. I know with the bigger festivals, it's really good to get on that circuit because, a lot of people are watching, and, there's a lot of potential funding that can come from that. And there's a lot more kind of issues that we actually need to face and that do need funding, because right now the government isn't doing it. And it's kind of, the power is in the people's hands.
Absolutely agree with you. The power is in the people's hands. Nico, you've been involved in a long time. So I want to ask you a personal question. Why rhinos? What was it that you decided, you know what, I want to work in the area of rhino conservation? And then a second question, Nico, how does it feel when you hear yet another rhino has been slaughtered?
Well, I've always had a passion for flying, for many years. In 92, I started flying. And with that, in 98, I did my helicopter's license and just built up from there. And the parks reached out to come and assist. And we had our first poaching incident in one of the parks. There were previous ones in the reserves, but in one of the parks in 2008. And that really touched me that day. It was a black rhino cow that was killed and brutally, her horns slaughtered off her face. And I just knew from that moment I need to change things. We've either got a choice to change something when we see something wrong, and we've got a choice to do nothing. And I mean, what would we be if we just did nothing? So, my passion has grown, and it's a huge privilege working with these prehistoric animals. It's a privilege to, rescue an orphan baby, to have the baby in the back of the helicopter and fly her to safety and see how in time that baby grows up and have children of its own. So, for every rhino that we save dozens of other rhinos, in her lifetime. So to me, it's a spiritual experience every time we work with these animals, and it's a blessing, and it's a little bit that we can give back to God to say thank you for what we have and for what we do. So, I feel entrusted to make a difference and to change these animals' lives and to really try and protect them. So it touches my and my family's heart, very sincerely.
So your family is also involved with Rhino 9/11. Tell us about that. Who's involved? What are their roles in the organization?
Well, they're not directly involved, but you need to understand that I get called out 2:00 in the morning, Sundays, Saturdays, late nights. Just when you get into bed, you get a call. Sometimes I don't have dinners with them. I don't have lunches, and they support me in the danger of the work that we do. You might not come back every day after you've been out flying. We work in very, very difficult situations, very dangerous situations. So, I've got their blessing and I've got their moral support in knowing that the work that we do really contributes to something better, and we'll hopefully leave this earth better than we've found it, in the sense of saving these lives.
Absolutely. Nico, one more question for you, because you are the expert in this field. And yes, we agree that education is equally important. So the film, etc., and all that comes with education is equally important as the criminal justice system. But what's going on with the criminal justice system, Nico? Why is it not doing enough? Who's behind it? Are there cartels involved? I mean, so are they the frontline people who come there to do the hatchet job? But behind that, who's behind the curtain? Who's giving them the instructions to go and murder these priceless and beautiful animals?
Well, it's been proven that in different countries, a lot of people very high up in the government is involved. I'm not saying that's the case in South Africa, but I mean, there's people been identified. Unfortunately, we don't work with that high up area, but there's so much corruption and so much money involved. You can just imagine that a rhino that's alive today with its horn on is worth 150, 200,000 rand. But only the horn on the front of its nose is worth anything from 3 to 5 million rand, the horn alone. So you can imagine why it's such a the animal has become a liability. It's not an asset anymore for the people farming with them and the people that love them and try and protect them. And it's a huge cost to save these animals. The cost in security, the cost in feeding them. They are worth nothing to farmers except the love and the passion for those animals. That's why we're so grateful for Brett to get involved and to create awareness. We need everything we can get to keep these animals alive.
Absolutely. I've got one more question before I turn the mic back to Brett, and that is, how does it feel when you have to saw off the horn of one of these animals? How does that feel? And how do you think they feel? Because they've got emotional intelligence as well. After being tranquilized, you realize this part of your body is gone.
Well, let me tell you, it's sad to us to see that. Obviously, we don't want to see it. None of us want to see it. But it's the only option we've got at this stage that makes a difference. I've been trimming since 2016 with a 98% success rate. So after we've reserved a private reserve or a park, we've had a 98% success rate on those animals surviving. We're prolonging their life by doing this. There's been studies done on the rhinos that's been dehorned, and very, very little effect, as if any, has shown as a detriment to those animals' behavior, their breeding behavior, their eating behavior, them fighting off other animals. So at this stage, there's very little proof and scientific evidence that these animals are being harmed. Remember, it's the same as you cutting your nail. It's hair and keratin. We're not cutting into flesh. We're not hurting the animal at all. And I'd say to you, rather seeing an alive rhino without its horn than seeing the devastation of animals that's been brutally killed for its horn. So it's sad to do this.
I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah, we're not saying it's the ultimate and only solution, but at this stage it works.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hear you, Nico. It's a very difficult decision to make, and much respect to you for your work. Last question for you, Brett. Having listened to what Nico was talking about, the visuals in you, is it going to focus on what Rhino 911 does? Are you going to have any visuals of some of the extreme measures that they have to take? Are you going to interview anybody? What's the content going to look like in this documentary on Rhino 911?
So we've got a bit of a time window. It's obviously not that great. Big, should I say? It's going to be, this operation and what Nico goes about is going to happen within the next 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So basically, we wanting to document this. We want to document sort of start to finish, and also just obviously interview Nico, obviously interview the vets, interview a bunch of people around there, and just kind of create a story. And, with facts and figures and, all the things that are kind of, they'll make you say, wow, almost, this is actually going on. We want to create an impact. We want to make sure that people know what's going on in the country. We want to make sure that, people actually feel something from this, because back in 2008 or when was it, 2010, it spiked hugely and greatly, and there was massive campaigns running, and everyone was aware of it, and it just kind of felt to me it's like it's almost a seasonal thing. Social media controls what gets put out and what doesn't. It's very weird, and that shouldn't be the case. Like I said, we need the power back in the people's hands, and we all need to work together, and we all need to unite against this, because there's a lot of problems in the world for sure, but I think, we could just start a little bit by, home soil, homeland, and, hopefully we can do something for these creatures, because they really are truly beautiful, and they have an emotional feel, and that's what we want. We want to create massive awareness for this.
Massive awareness. So, okay, I'm going to queue up our technical producer with a song that I'm going to dedicate for you before, at the end of this conversation. And And we're going to play Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, because I think the lyrics are so powerful and so relevant to what it is. We're both of you, Nico and Brett, being agents of change. That's what you're doing. Okay, so we're going to play Man in the Mirror in a few moments. But Brett, just to round us up, how much to raise and where can people find this crowdfunding link?
So for the crowdfunding link, they can check on my Facebook page in Sundust Films. It will be there. It's the first thing that you'll see. Or you can just get in touch with me personally, or Rhino 911, I'm sure. So you can just, literally see Brett Wegener if you can't find Sundust Films, but I'm pretty sure you will. And please, it's, just to put it into perspective, if 300 people just donated 250 Rand, we would reach that target. It's, if you look at 70,000 Rand, it can be quite overwhelming. But if you just break it down into that, where we can all do our little bit, it makes a huge difference. It really, really, really does.
Yeah, well, I'm absolutely going to be supporting the campaign later on this evening, making my contribution towards this campaign. And everyone, if you're listening to the show right now, if you're watching, these animals, their lives matter too. And the world has us thinking that we have to choose one thing over the other. But if each of us got involved in a cause, the ripple effect would become a tsunami of transformation. Thank you to Nico Jacobs from Rhino 911 and Brett Wegener, as I said it incorrectly earlier on, from Sundust Films, for being agents of change. And the song to play out is Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson.